Elon Musk has did it again with his company SpaceX. They have successfully launched the Transporter-1 mission, breaking the record for the most satellites ever flown on a single rocket. Well, on January 24th at 10 a.m., the company's Falcon 9 lifted off from Cape Canaveral in Florida with 143 commercial and government satellites on board. The satellites were launched into a sun-synchronous orbit, the one that stays in constant daylight, about 500 kilometers above Earth's surface. And about 8 minutes later, the bottom section of the rocket returned to Earth and landed in the Atlantic Ocean on a floating barge called, of course, I Still Love You, a norm now on SpaceX launches. The launch was the first in SpaceX's new rideshare program. This was designed to launch as many satellites at a time and enable corporations as well as organizations to reach space at a lower cost. SpaceX has launched rideshare missions before, notably its SSO-A mission in 2018 with 64 satellites on board. But this new program is intended to greatly expand the launch opportunities on offer. It costs just $1 million to place a satellite up to 200 kilograms on a Transporter-1 and then $5,000 for every kilogram thereafter. The launch of the 143 satellites broke the previous record for the most satellites on a launch, set by India in 2017 when it launched 104 on a single rocket. The satellites on board included 48 satellites from Earth imaging company Planet Labs to test ways to track small spacecrafts in Earth's orbit and 36 small communication satellites from Swarm Technologies. 10 of SpaceX's own satellites in its controversial Starlink network were also included, which reached the milestone of 1,000 satellites launched as of last week. The total mass of satellites on board was about 5,000 kilograms. However, the large number of satellites on board, while impressive, has caused some concern, specifically regarding space traffic management. SpaceX did not release a detailed manifest of the satellites on board, meaning the purpose and nature of some of them was unclear at the time of launch. One of the problems is that we don't even know what all the 143 satellites are for, says expert Jonathan McDowell from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. With some of the satellites being as small as a shoebox, they will be hard to track in orbit, a necessity to avoid collisions with other satellites. This single launch alone will increase the number of active satellites in orbit by about 5%. Given there are only about 3,000 active satellites currently orbiting the Earth. 3,000 sounds a hell of a lot to me. I don't know, what do you think? Or, in other words, 1 out of every 20 active satellites now in orbit were launched on this Transporter-1 mission. Nonetheless, the launch is a huge milestone for SpaceX, letting it offer a new type of service unmatched by any other launch provider. At as little as $5,000 per kilogram, the flight was significantly cheaper for satellites on board than on any other rival commercial rockets. For example, the New Zealand-based launch company Rocket Lab offers space on its smaller Electron rocket at about $20,000 per kilogram. However, while these smaller launches can't match SpaceX on price, they can offer a dedicated launch to a specific orbit with a short wait time. SpaceX, with its rideshare missions, on the other hand, can only launch multiple satellites into one orbit, posing some issues to then move the satellites elsewhere. Still, the service has clearly proven popular, and a Transporter-2 mission is expected later this year already. Now, many will be hoping if these launches are to become more regular, then what can we do to safely manage the large amount of satellites deployed in orbit? There's going to be a lot of space junk out there. So what do you think? What about the problem of space junk? Well, let us know in the comment below. Hey, and remember, you are watching it here on the Buzzwire.